Nostalgic. It's the one word that kept going through my head while playing Commandos Origins, a new real-time tactics release from Claymore Games Studios. Kinda makes sense, considering they're the developers that remastered Commandos 2 and 3 in 2020 and 2022 respectively. I still remember watching my brother play the original Commandos 2 and 3 from back in the early 2000s. Watching him send those soldiers into tense situations and silently dispatch the enemy was both stressful and thrilling. This is a prequel of the series, so I wanted to dive in and see if it does the series justice or not. Is Commandos Origins a military sim revolution, or is it more dance revolution? The story is pretty absent. It's a prequel, so the whole game is about getting the band together while doing consequential damage to the Axis powers. Sergeant Thomas Hancock is a specialist at making things go boom. He's a sapper, and he's been given the mandate to put a team of like-minded specialists together. Bring on the beginning of the Commandos. The game starts with the recruitment of Jack O'Hara, a Green Beret and a beefcake with a bad attitude. He's a convict in the British Army camp who the sapper recruits by unlocking his jail cell and telling him to meet Hancock outside once he's escaped. So this is all a setup for a brief tutorial on silently moving around view cones and distracting guards. So the beefcake and the boom specialist get together, and then it all hits the fan. Axis forces show up and it's time for the Commandos to go to work. From this first mission through the better part of the game, you'll be meeting and recruiting new Commandos to the team. Daring rescue, careful recon, or clever sabotage, every mission is an impossible ask of any other outfit. The Commandos, though, get in, avoid detection, take out targets with non-lethal or lethal means, finish the mission, and get out. Each member brings some new ability to the table. For example, the Green Beret is able to climb up to difficult places, as well as dig himself into camouflage in snow or dirt. The Sapper, well, he blows things up, and has a mechanical bear trap, because reasons. The Sniper has a big-ass gun and killer aim. The Marine is Australian, which means he's a goddamn badass. Each has their particular skills, and each mission we're given a different collection of a few commandos best suited to the task. There are only a couple of missions where you'll get more than a few commandos, which is fine by me. I have trouble in tactics games when controlling too many parties anyway. This is probably a good time to mention that you can play this game cooperatively, which I didn't get a chance to do, but I can imagine it could get pretty interesting. I've read online that you could play Origins stealthy or loud, because most commandos have a pistol issued, but honestly, I can't imagine anyone having success with a loud approach. Unlike the previous games, you can't pick up enemy guns, and reading the Steam page, as well as going through the game, it seems pretty clear this game was developed with stealth as the primary approach. Some of these levels have pretty overwhelming forces present. I'd be impressed with anyone taking that on with a frontal assault. Although, as much as I enjoy tactics games, I'm definitely not the best at them, so who knows. I can only tell you that I took this game entirely by stealth. My approach is likely the same as most, I would think. I treat this game like a puzzle. Each area consists of static enemies with oscillating view cones and patrolling enemies with moving view cones. I would often start by doing a lot of surveying of the area, looking for those hiding spots for both my commandos as well as bodies. Find the one weak link in the chain, the one guy that's not being watched all the time, or who could be out of the sight from another distracted guard, and take them all out like links in a chain. Take this train yard as an example. The objective was to get through here to access a bridge that needed exploding. It's a pretty well guarded area with both static guards and patrolling guards. Once I'd manually gone through every guard's view cones, by the way, there's no way to see all view cones at the same time sadly. So once I've gone through all of their view cones manually, I picked them off one by one. First this guy in the middle, then this patrolling guard, then all these bozos, working clockwise all the way around to this last guy. Each time, dragging the bodies back into this pile in the station. That was pretty much the entire game for me, one lethal takedown at a time. It's pretty painstaking. And it involves a hell of a lot of quick saves and quick loads when I screwed up. So I got very used to the F5 and F8 buttons. Those buttons got a serious workout because I found the view cones to be occasionally inconsistent. The solid part of the view cone is the area in which you'll be immediately spotted. The striped view cone is far enough out that they can't see you if you're prone, sometimes. And sometimes they can see you. I mean, it all sounds okay in theory, but there were a handful of times I was spotted in that striped area despite being prone. Maybe it was something else, like they saw a footprint or a part of a body or something, although they're not meant to see that either in that striped zone. I don't know, I felt like I was occasionally punished incorrectly. And this game is punishing enough without those inconsistencies making it worse.
What the fuck? What?
Maybe they were bugs, or maybe they were my own incompetence. While we're on the subject of bugs, I want to talk about the summary screen at the end of the levels. Small thing, but sometimes I found it would show the wrong commandos. Maybe I'd played the level with the sniper and the sapper, but the end screen would show the kill stats for the spy. Huh? Seems like a pretty big oversight. Yet another bug, perhaps. Otherwise, I would actually say this title is a nice jumping on point for newcomers to the series, although those inconsistencies and the difficulty might be a bit of a point of frustration for some. Honestly, count me among them. But despite that, the more that I played of the game, in moderation, the more I grew to enjoy it. It felt like two competing columns, rising frustration at the punishing difficulty and frequent restarts, versus the other column, the dopamine column of finally pulling off a plan that initially looked impossible, with an increasing roster of unlocked commandos. At the start of the game, it was all in the frustration column, with a smaller dopamine column. But as I got steadily through the game and I was drip-fed new commandos with new exciting abilities, it kind of kept it fresh enough for me to not throw in the towel. I liked the sapper explosions, then I got the sniper and appreciated his one-bullet silent takedown. That came in real handy. Then I got the marine who has silent knife throws and you can also collect and reuse, as well as his harpoons with a similar mechanic. It makes him a silent takedown master. Then I got the spy who, in disguise, I had sneak past these 4 guys and then pull his silenced pistol out to cap all 4 of them in succession. That was seriously great. Sometimes you'll need to have your commandos work in tandem for a simultaneous takedown of 2 or more bad guys. This is where the command mode comes in. If you press shift, you'll pause time and you can issue commands to all your present commandos, and then either press enter to execute them at that moment, or release time with shift again and press enter to execute at the time you want. It's similar to the game mechanic in Mimimi's Desperados 3, but it doesn't feel as polished or as useful. In Desperados, you're able to sync a kill, so that the exact moment of the enemy's deaths is timed, so that if a sniper bullet will be quicker than a knife throw, it'll all correctly time out to impact at the same moment. Not so in Commandos. This mode won't exactly sync the kills, but just execute the orders from the start at the same time. So if someone has further to walk or crawl than another commando, they'll be late to the party and your team will end up discovered or killed. It's still a mechanic I used, but I did wonder whether the devs were trying to emulate that sync kill function, but failed. Either way, it's just not as good here. If you're into this style of tactics games, I'd highly recommend both Desperados 3, Shadow Gambit, and actually even Shadow Tactics, all games developed by Mimimi Games, and I think probably a better example of this style working. Quick note about some of the simpler control schemes. At the start of the game, you're given the choice of how you'd like to control the action. Arrow keys for the camera or WASD. I chose to control the camera with the arrows and drive the vehicles with WASD, but I found the camera wouldn't move with the arrows anyway, so fat lot of good that choice was. You'll also note that each commando has a corresponding number to call on them before making them do stuff. Despite using different commandos at different levels, they'll keep that particular number. So the Green Beret is always number 1, the Sniper is always number 3, and the Spy is always number 5. Probably makes sense, but wasn't something I was expecting. Moving to graphics, this game is quite pretty. It's a nice isometric bird's eye view that's entirely 3D, and you can pan the camera around to see all of the map. Be aware that if you do pan around, you may get some screen tearing. I didn't notice it through my playtime, but there was the odd occasion where I felt like there was a slowdown or a missed frame in there, making the spin a little bit jarring. Something I also noticed was the transition from inside buildings to outside buildings could be better handled. Your viewpoint is automatic depending on which commando you have chosen, and in order to move someone from outside to inside, rather than toggle a view, you have to move the person to the threshold, the door, at which point the inside becomes visible and you can then continue your movement plan. It feels pretty cumbersome during playtime, meaning inside teams and outside teams will remain mostly separate. With a variety of maps including sandy, snowy, grassy, ocean-y, as well as daytime missions and nighttime missions, it's a good amount of variety and I absolutely can't fault it. One of the graphical bugs that was more funny than annoying was that constant collision of bodies, causing ragdoll spasms with enemy soldiers. This wasn't a problem so much as a hilarious side effect that made me wonder how much this game was actually playtested. Sound design is nothing particularly fancy. There's pretty stock sounds for cars and boats, as well as the odd gunfire. Mostly you'll just be listening to...
Yep.
I'm your man.
All of the Commando lines are fine. I didn't find any of the performances particularly stand out, whether in cutscenes or in game voicings, but likewise it did nothing to particularly disappoint me either. The music, similarly, is not anything you'll be totally impressed by. It's the standard orchestral, quiet, stalking music. The kind of music you'll hear in a movie when the hero is sneaking around the enemies, or during the planning stage of a heist. It's okay. I didn't find it added much to my gameplay, and actually turned it down to half volume, just so I could ignore the repetition. Like most games I've played this year, Commandos Origins has a couple of highs and a few lows. Maybe it's rose-tinted glasses, but I'm not sure I'm getting the same thrill as the original titles from the early 2000s. If I could pinpoint my main criticism, it would be the inconsistent view cones married with the difficulty. This, together with the other bugs I've mentioned, gave it a little bit of an unfinished feel, which is not a great thing. It still has the occasional thrill, no denying, and the stress is definitely still present, but the stressful moments were more of a result of the poor game design than intended friction. Origins isn't something I can play for long periods of time due to those frustrations, but there was enough for me to like here to not entirely rule it out. I'd say this might be something you want to pick up on sale.
He is a promising candidate.
Achtung! Legt an!